Let's talk about a subject that's been making waves, the so-called woke culture, and how it's been affecting the credibility of science and universities. First off, let's take a closer look at what exactly this woke culture is all about. For those who aren't up to speed, woke is a term that emerged in the United States to describe a social awareness regarding issues of justice, equality, and diversity. It's like being awake, tuned into how social structures can perpetuate various forms of discrimination and oppression, you know? So far, so good, right? I mean, who wouldn't want a fairer and more equal world? But here's the catch. The problem arises when this woke culture starts encroaching into areas where objectivity and impartiality are crucial, like science and universities. That's when things start to get complicated. Science has always been a quest for truth, an exploration of the unknown to better understand the world around us. But lately, it's been tough to maintain that quest for truth when the woke culture enters the scene. The thing is, science is based on evidence, on hard data, and rigorous research methods. But when the woke culture starts prioritizing political and ideological narratives over factual truth, the credibility of science goes down the drain. We can cite Steven Pinker in this regard, a renowned psychologist and author of works such as The Blank Slate and Enlightenment Now. He has warned about the dangers of this trend. He argues that when universities and scientific institutions bow to the pressure of the woke culture, they compromise their integrity and their ability to produce reliable knowledge. Because the bias of seeing many things as oppressive, often in the absence of objective facts demonstrating such occurrences, goes diametrically against the direction of science, which, as we've seen, strives to be as impartial as possible about things. And it's not just science that suffers from this. Universities, which should be spaces of open debate and free exchange of ideas, often become minefields where certain opinions are considered taboo and freedom of expression is suppressed in the name of emotional safety. So, what does all this mean for the future of science and universities? Well, if we continue down this path, we risk seeing a decline in the quality of scientific research and a decline in the reputation of academic institutions. But hey, not all hope is lost. Recognizing the challenges that the woke culture presents is the first step to finding solutions. It's time to reclaim the fundamental values of science and universities: objectivity, impartiality, and intellectual freedom. But after all, when did these values start being trampled by the woke? Where did this woke culture come from? To understand this better, we need to go back in time and take a look at the roots of this phenomenon. For that, we can cite books like Cynical Theories and Explaining Postmodernism by Stephen Hicks and The Frankfurt School and the Beginnings of the New Left. They provide valuable insights into the origins of the woke culture. For they highlight the role of intellectual and ideological movements of the 20th century, such as the Frankfurt School, post-structuralism, and the works of Antonio Gramsci, in formulating critical theories that question power structures and hierarchy in society. These influential thinkers proposed a critical approach to dominant social and cultural institutions, including family, religion, and education. Their ideas were gradually absorbed and transformed over time, giving rise to what we now know as woke culture. This cultural transformation brought with it an emphasis on identity, diversity, and social justice, themes that are central to woke culture. However, as we have seen before, this emphasis can sometimes conflict with the fundamental principles of science and academia. Therefore, understanding the historical and intellectual context that gave rise to a woke culture helps us to see beyond superficial controversies and to understand the deeper forces that are shaping our world today. But hold on a second. No one here is proposing some kind of obscure reactionary stance or blatant prejudice against social groups or anything like that. Despite some of the positive intentions behind a woke culture, it's important to recognize its limitations and even its harmful effects. By prioritizing group identity over the individual, this culture often ends up promoting a worldview that categorizes people based on superficial characteristics, such as race, gender, or sexual orientation, instead of recognizing them as unique and complex human beings. This is where the importance of classic liberal values, in the European sense of the term, comes in, such as individual freedom and equality of opportunity. Thomas Sowell's book, Discrimination and Disparities, presents a critical and empirically grounded approach to issues of discrimination and inequality. Sowell demonstrates how, in a capitalist society, the cost of prejudice negatively impacts the employer, who may lose valuable talent simply because of irrational biases. This is manifested, in effect, in one of the main components of the soul of the free market, the entrepreneur's pocket. Who would be crazy enough to throw money away because of childish prejudices? Maybe some, but according to the data that Sowell brings in the book, not the majority. Therefore, instead of emphasizing divisions and differences, the liberal approach advocates for equality of opportunity and respect for individual freedom. By recognizing the intrinsic value of each person and promoting an environment where everyone can thrive based on their merits and efforts, liberal values offer a more effective and genuinely inclusive alternative to combating prejudice against specific groups. Besides having more empirical basis, and thus following classical principles of science, such as the possibility of being demonstrated and refuted, unlike many precepts of woke culture, which are merely dogmatically assumed. And there, my friends. Controversial topic today, huh? But it's something that needs to be addressed. We here at the channel believe it's necessary to take clear positions on some topics. After all, science isn't floating in some platonic ideal world out there. It's right here, amidst the society we live in, and it's impacted by fads and trends. Thus, if a stance isn't taken, our precious science, which took so long to form and reach its level of relative objectivity, can easily be undermined by a set of mistaken ideas, even if well-intentioned. If you agree, leave your like. If you disagree, leave your dislike. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as there's still much ahead, and whether to praise or vilify us, comment below. Until next time.